It's an interesting idea, kindness being harder to receive. Is there an element of people being uncomfortable in and around kindness then?
I think superficial kindness we understand. Be nice to someone, say thank you, be polite, pay them a compliment. I think we all get that, right? And I think we can all be a little more kind. And that's usually where our minds go, But I think kindness includes discomfort. And I think the most difficult kind of kindness is the uncomfortable kind of kindness. So for example, somebody suffers some sort of tragedy. They lose someone close to them in an untimely fashion. They lose their job, whatever it is. And so many times we do nothing because we don't want to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. And sometimes we do say and do the wrong thing, and it does trigger someone.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something about saying, I don't know what to do, but I think it's right to do something. And to lean into trying to be kind, not knowing how it's going to be received, but it's the right thing to do, I think is the most difficult act of kindness, because when someone is suffering, so often what we do is we leave them alone, which is not an act of kindness. I'll tell you a personal experience that really captures this. I did some work with the US Air Force. I'll spare you the long story, but I went to Afghanistan with them, and I was there to witness them doing their missions, and it was an amazing experience. I was, at Bagram Air Base, and something happened that none of us expected. Me and my 2 escorts, we flew home with a flag-draped casket on a big military transport plane. So I slept next to this casket for 9.5 hours. I didn't do much sleeping, but I lay next to it. And it was a profound experience that profoundly, changed my life. It changed my perspective on the world. And the deal I made with the Air Force was they would send me into this war zone to observe, and I would come back and report what I saw. And so about a week after the event, I went to Scott Air Force Base in Illinois, and I stood on the stage with all of the generals and the colonels, and I was telling them about my experience and offering some ideas. And then I get to this point in the story about coming home with this flag-draped casket. The emotion's still very raw. And I go quiet, and what's going through my mind is, do I talk about this? So first decision was, yes, I'll tell the story. And midway through the story, I get stuck. I start welling up, the emotions are overwhelming, and I can't go on. I can't move forwards. Now, if this had happened to me in the private sector, and it's happened, where I get emotional on the stage, invariably, someone will say, it's okay.
Yeah.
Take your time. Take your time. We'll wait for you, right? As if to say, you over there. And I was standing on the stage, unable to speak, and one voice, it was the commanding general, the 4-star, at the back of the room, he said, go on. As if to say, go on, we are with you, you are safe. I choke up talking about it now. And it was the act of courage when somebody was emotional to say, move forwards, not wait. And I think that we so often think we're being kind by giving people space or saying it's okay, but we very rarely think it's a kind thing to say, move forwards, go. And the underlying message and I will be with you.